Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Evan Hirsch, the author and founder of the Fix Your Fatigue program. I'm so glad you're here because today I want to talk about step one of the four-step process of the Fix Your Fatigue program. And so step one is all about assessing the causes. But before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about why you're here. Because if you're here, it's because you're a mission-driven entrepreneur or professional, you're a high achiever, and you want more out of life. And fatigue and being tired is just getting you down, and it's no fun. And I know because I've been there. You know, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning. You've got all these dreams for your business. Maybe you want to make more money. Maybe you just want to engage more with your family. You've got dreams. I totally get it. I've been there. But fatigue is keeping you down. And that was really my story. You know, I was running my business, my medical practice. I had high hopes and high dreams, and everything just started crashing around me. My relationship suffered, and it was all because of fatigue. And I didn't know how to get out of it. And it took time, and I researched, and I went to every conference that I could on fatigue, read every book that I could, and I figured it out, and I applied it to myself, and I achieved amazing energy. And then I applied it to my patients, and they did really well. And then I wrote a book, and I've helped, at this point, thousands of people resolve their fatigue and achieve amazing energy so that they can achieve all of their dreams. And that's my mission in life. And so I know if you're here, you've got a mission too. You've got a mission, you've got a purpose, and you're not able to make it happen because your energy is not where you want it to be. And maybe you've been to other practitioners, maybe you've been to nutritionists or naturopaths or functional medicine docs, and they're just not getting you where you want to go. And unfortunately, that's kind of how it is right now because not enough people are putting this picture together. I haven't found anybody who is addressing all of the causes that I see. You know, if you see a naturopath or a functional medicine doc, they can be really good practitioners, but usually they're generalists. Or if they're specialists, they specialize in one thing, like they'll specialize in Lyme, or they'll specialize in mold, or they'll specialize in heavy metals. But nobody is putting it together and working on fatigue. So let's jump in and talk about step one to this process. And step one is assessing the causes like I talked about. And what was my experience was that as I found all these causes, I would fix them. So I found that I had adrenal issues and I fixed it. And then I found I had thyroid issues and I fixed it. And I found I had mitochondrial issues and I fixed it. And it would get me a little bit better. I'd go from an energy of like 3 out of 10 with 10 being ideal to 4 to 5 to 6. But it wouldn't get me all the way there until I addressed all of the causes. And that's really what I want to convey to you today. I tell people when they come to see me that you have 15 nails in the bottom of your foot. And that we can pull out the gluten nail, we can pull out the heavy metal nail, we can pull out the mold nail, but there is a mass effect that happens when you get a certain number of them out. And then once you get all of them out, that is when you truly resolve your fatigue. So that is my mission here today, is to really emphasize this for you and to teach you that it is all about the causes. Because another thing that I see is that everybody's looking for the right treatment. You're like, oh, maybe it's this supplement. Maybe it's that supplement. Maybe it's ozone therapy. Maybe it's IV therapy. Maybe it's high-dose IV vitamin C. Whatever it is, you know, it's kind of a shotgun approach, and it's not going to get you where you want to go. Because with any problem that you have, if you think of it, whether you're fixing a car or fixing your body, you've got to find the cause, right? There's diagnosis that has to happen, right? You have to get down to the causes. Now the problem is that in conventional medicine, there is something called a unifying diagnosis, which is basically there's supposed to be one diagnosis that explains all of your symptoms. But with fatigue, there are 15 to 20 different causes that explain the fatigue. And then it's just kind of built on that. So hopefully that makes sense. So let's talk about the causes of fatigue. So the causes of fatigue can be grouped into deficiencies and toxicities. Deficiencies are things that aren't in the body that are supposed to. These are things like hormones, adrenals, thyroid, sex hormones, nutrients like B12 and folate and magnesium and iron. It can be lifestyle habits that aren't optimized, like not enough sleep, not enough water, not enough good food. It can be things like mitochondrial function, which is the energy center of every cell in the body, not having enough mitochondria present that's working appropriately. It can be immune intolerance. So basically, if you've got allergies and you're reacting to a lot of different things, the immune system is not tolerant of its environment. I consider that to be part of the deficiencies. And then in the toxicities, we've got heavy metals and chemicals and molds and infections. I mean, with heavy metals, if we're looking at things like mercury, 100,000 pounds of mercury are being dumped into our oceans every single year. And that comes out in everything in seafood and everything that we're consuming from our oceans. You know, lead, 70% of all lipsticks have lead in it. Chemicals, you know, 84,000 chemicals we're exposed to, and most of those haven't been FDA approved. You know, these numbers are really staggering and, you know, just hard to get your head around. And then mold, about half of the buildings in this country have water damage, and most of those have mold. And mold is a huge issue that I see not just in the Pacific Northwest, but all over the country. And then there's infections. And a lot of those infections, you know, we've had for a long time, but they become opportunistic and they take advantage of the situation at hand when you've got heavy metals, chemicals, and molds that take the immune system and hijack it off into left field. Okay, and those infections could be Epstein-Barr virus. They could be Lyme-type infections like Borrelia, Bartonella, Babesia, Ehrlichia. It could be parasites. You could have yeast and bacteria in the gut. So there's a lot of different things that really contribute to all of these causes. And then there's allergies, like I mentioned, food allergies, inhaled allergies, and emotions, emotional trauma, adverse childhood events, electromagnetic frequencies. And so basically, it's just all the crap that you've accumulated over your life. I picture the human is like this big barrel that's just kind of full of stuff. And what we want to do is poke a hole in the bottom and drain it. But we have to go through this process in order to be able to do it. So those are really the major causes that we're looking at, and through a 4-step process we assess exactly which causes you have, because the reason why it's so hard to treat fatigue, and the reason why if you've got a friend who's got fatigue and they did something and it works for them and it doesn't work for you, is because everybody has different causes of fatigue. I may have causes 1, 3, 5, 9. I may have adrenals and thyroid and mitochondria and heavy metals, and somebody else might have mold and infections. So that's why it has to be tailored exactly to you, to the individual. And that's why the assessment process is so important, and that's why it is the first step. Because once you figure out all of the causes that you have, that is when you can step into step 2 and start going after it. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful for you. I'm super excited to talk to you about step 2 in the next video, and I'll see you there.